Have you ever wondered why being too kind doesn't always get you the respect you deserve? Why the more you give, the less you seem to be valued? You hold doors open, you listen, you care, you put her needs first, yet instead of appreciation, you often get overlooked. If that sounds familiar, you're not alone. The world tells you that kindness is the key to connection, but here's the harsh reality. Kindness without strength is ignored. Stick around until the end of this video because you're about to hear something that will change the way you approach relationships forever. By the time we're done, you'll understand why being too nice is the very thing that's holding you back and what you need to do instead to gain the respect, attraction, and self-worth you deserve. Here's the truth most people won't tell you. People don't value what comes too easily. It's human nature. What's given freely is taken for granted, and when a man is constantly giving, constantly bending, constantly trying to please, he's sending a message he doesn't even realize. I have no standards for how I am treated. I will take whatever you give me. And when you say that, even without words, you lose power. Women don't lose respect for men because they're kind. They lose respect for men who place kindness above self-respect. When you prioritize being liked over being respected, you start compromising on your values, your time, your dignity. You say yes when you should say no. You tolerate behavior you should walk away from. You become afraid to set boundaries because you fear pushing her away. But here's the irony. When you refuse to stand up for yourself, that's when you truly lose her. People are wired to test limits. Women, just like men, subconsciously test those around them to see who stands firm and who folds. And if you're always bending, always accommodating, always saying, it's okay, even when it's not, what does that say about you? It tells the world you're not a leader. You're not someone who demands respect. You're someone who can be walked over. And people don't admire those who let themselves be walked on. But let's be clear, this isn't about being cold, cruel, or distant. This isn't about turning into someone you're not. It's about balance. A strong man is kind, but he's not a pushover. A strong man is generous, but not at the cost of his own self-worth. A strong man gives, but only to those who give back. He doesn't chase validation. He doesn't beg for love. He knows that his value doesn't come from how much he does for someone. It comes from who he is. So if you've ever felt like your kindness is being taken for granted, it's time to shift your mindset. Stop being afraid to demand respect. Stop thinking that saying no will push people away. The right people, those who truly value you, will respect you more when you stand your ground. And those who only wanted to use you, let them walk away. Because a man who knows his worth never fears losing someone who doesn't appreciate it. The world does not respect those who constantly give themselves away. The world respects those who know when to give and when to hold back. If you want to be valued, start by valuing yourself. If you want to be respected, start by setting standards. And if you want to be loved the right way, stop thinking you have to prove yourself to anyone. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly how to make that shift. And once you do, everything will change. Stay with me because this is just the beginning. People don't appreciate what they don't have to work for. That's the simple truth. The more available you are, the more predictable you become, the less value you hold in their eyes. It's not about being heartless. It's about understanding psychology. Human nature is wired to chase what feels just out of reach. Think about the things in life that people respect the most. Success, wealth, power, discipline. None of these things come easy. They demand effort, sacrifice, and persistence. And because they require work, they command value. The same principle applies in relationships. When you're always there, always giving, always making things easy, you strip away the challenge. And when there's no challenge, there's no respect. Respect isn't given, it's earned. That's how human nature works. People admire what they cannot easily obtain. If you hand someone your time, your energy, your devotion, without them having to do anything for it, what message are you sending? You're saying, I need nothing in return. My presence is free. And what do people do with things that are free? They take them for granted. This is why the men who are overly nice, overly available, overly accommodating often find themselves overlooked. It's not because kindness is a weakness. It's because when kindness is given without standards, it loses its power. Strength and value are tied to what people must earn. That's why confidence is so attractive. It signals that you don't give yourself away for nothing. It shows that you respect yourself enough to demand the same in return. But too many men believe that by giving more, they'll be valued more. That if they just try harder, be nicer, be more available, they'll finally get the appreciation they deserve. But the truth is, appreciation doesn't come from effort alone. It comes from presence, self-respect, and restraint. When you understand human nature, you stop chasing validation and start commanding respect. Women respect men who stand firm, who have boundaries, who don't compromise their dignity just to be liked. They don't want a man who is always at their feet. They want a man who is steady, focused, and sure of himself. A man who gives, but only when it is deserved. A man who values his own time, his own purpose, his own self-worth above the need for constant approval. So if you find yourself always being the one who gives, the one who waits, the one who sacrifices, stop. Not because kindness is wrong, but because kindness without limits is self-destruction. Your time is valuable, your energy is valuable, and if you don't treat them that way, no one else will. Step back, observe, recognize that people respect what they must work for. If you want to be valued, stop making yourself too easy to access. If you want to be appreciated, stop overextending yourself. Respect yourself first, and watch how the world starts to treat you differently. One of the biggest mistakes a man can make is living for approval. Seeking validation, trying to be liked by everyone, constantly adjusting to fit into someone else's expectations. It's a trap. A trap that robs you of your strength, your confidence, and ultimately your respect. When you base your worth on how others see you, you give them control. You start shaping yourself to please them, to avoid rejection, to make sure they stay. But the moment you do that, you stop being a leader and start being a follower. And no one respects a man who follows blindly. This is where so many men go wrong in relationships. They think if they can just be nicer, more understanding, more accommodating, they'll finally be seen as valuable. That if they never disagree, never say no, never put their foot down, they'll be loved more. But that's not how human nature works. Women, like everyone else, respect what stands firm, not what bends to every whim. A man who seeks approval is a man who lacks direction. He's so focused on being accepted that he forgets who he is. He's afraid to say what he really thinks, afraid to make decisions without checking how others feel about them first. That kind of weakness doesn't attract respect, it repels it. Because deep down, people don't want someone who needs to be told what to do, what to think, or how to act. They want someone who already knows. The harsh truth is this: the more you try to prove yourself to someone, the more desperate you look, and desperation is the fastest way to lose value in anyone's eyes. The strongest men in history, the ones who built empires, the ones who changed the world, never begged for approval. They walked their path with confidence, and the world followed. The same applies to relationships. Women do not respect men who constantly seek their validation. They respect men who validate themselves, who know their worth and don't feel the need to prove it, who can walk away from a situation where they are not valued because they understand one thing: self-respect is not negotiable. If you've been chasing approval, stop, take a step back and ask yourself, why do you need it? What are you trying to prove? Because the moment you realize you don't need anyone's permission to be valuable, everything changes. You start making decisions for yourself. You stop worrying about whether people like you and start focusing on whether they respect you. And here's the beautiful part. When you stop seeking approval, you naturally earn respect. People start seeing you differently. You carry yourself with a quiet confidence, an unshakable strength. You no longer react emotionally, no longer beg for attention, and that right there is when you become truly powerful. A man who knows his worth is not afraid to walk away. That is one of the most powerful truths in life. The moment you understand this, you stop tolerating disrespect. You stop begging for attention. You stop chasing people who don't value you. Weak men stay in places where they are not appreciated. They hold on to relationships that drain them. They keep investing time and energy into people who give them nothing in return. Why? Because they're afraid. Afraid of being alone. Afraid of rejection. Afraid that if they let go, they'll never find someone better. But that fear is a lie. The truth is, the moment you walk away from what no longer serves you, you create space for what actually deserves you. You send a message not just to others, but to yourself, that you refuse to settle for less than your worth. And that kind of self-respect is magnetic. It draws the right people to you, the ones who see your value, not the ones who take advantage of it. The world operates on one simple rule: you teach people how to treat you. If you allow someone to disrespect you once, they will do it again. If you tolerate being ignored, they will keep ignoring you. If you keep chasing after someone who shows no interest, they will never respect you. But the moment you set a boundary, the moment you say enough, everything shifts. Walking away doesn't mean you're weak. It means you're strong enough to choose yourself. It means you refuse to waste time trying to convince someone to care about you. Because real men do not beg. They do not plead. They do not negotiate their self-worth. They know that their time, their energy, their presence is valuable, and they refuse to give it away for free. And here's the thing: when you walk away, you gain power. People suddenly see what they lost. The same woman who once took you for granted starts wondering why you're no longer available. The same people who ignored you start paying attention. Why? Because you're no longer chasing. Because you've made it clear you don't need them. And the moment you stop needing, that's when you become truly desirable. But the real victory isn't about making someone regret losing you. It's about knowing that you never needed them in the first place. That your value was never tied to their approval. That you were always enough with or without them. A strong man does not fear losing people, he fears losing himself in the process of trying to keep them. So if you find yourself in a situation where you are undervalued, unappreciated, or taken for granted, walk away. Not to teach them a lesson, but to remind yourself of yours. People will only respect the standards you enforce. If you allow them to cross the line once, they will do it again. If you let them take advantage of your kindness, they will keep taking. That's how human nature works. People push limits, and if they see no resistance, they assume there are no boundaries. A man without boundaries is a man without self-respect. He says yes when he wants to say no. He tolerates behavior that makes him uncomfortable. He bends over backward to keep the peace, afraid of upsetting anyone. But in doing so, he loses himself. Because every time you allow someone to treat you in a way that diminishes your worth, you send a message. I don't respect myself enough to stop this. And if you don't respect yourself, no one else will. Boundaries are not about controlling others. They are about controlling yourself, your time, your energy, your peace. They are a way of saying, this is what I will accept. This is what I will not tolerate. And the moment you start enforcing them, everything changes. Weak men let people dictate their lives. They let emotions control their decisions. They give unlimited chances, thinking that patience will earn them love and respect. But patience without limits is just self-sacrifice. And the more you give without requiring anything in return, the less people will value you. Strong men set the tone. They don't let disrespect slide. They don't stay silent when someone crosses the line. They speak up, not because they are angry, but because they respect themselves too much to let it continue. And the moment you start acting like a man with standards, the people around you are forced to either rise to meet them or walk away. Either way, you win. Some will call you harsh. Some will say you've changed. That's fine, let them. Because a man who respects himself is not afraid to lose people who don't. And that's the difference between those who command respect and those who are ignored. One understands his worth, the other is still searching for it. So if you've been letting things slide, if you've been allowing others to dictate your value, it's time to stop. Raise your standards, set your boundaries, and most importantly, enforce them. Not by begging, not by arguing, but by action. Because people hear what you say, but they respect what you do. Too many men spend their lives putting others first, sacrificing their own needs, their own happiness, their own ambitions, just to keep someone else comfortable. They believe that being selfless will make them more lovable, more valuable, more worthy of respect. But that is a dangerous mistake. A man who constantly prioritizes others over himself is not seen as noble, he is seen as weak. Because when you neglect your own well-being, you are teaching people that your needs don't matter. That your time is less valuable, that your presence is not a priority. And once you send that message, don't be surprised when others start treating you accordingly. The world does not respect men who put themselves last. It does not reward self-neglect. It rewards confidence, self-discipline, and purpose. And purpose cannot exist if you are too busy living for others while ignoring yourself. When a man places his own goals, his own growth, and his own success above everything else, something changes. He stops chasing people. He stops worrying about who likes him and who doesn't. He stops bending his life around the approval of others. And instead, he builds himself. He becomes so focused on his mission, so committed to his path, that people naturally begin to gravitate toward him. And here's the irony. The moment you stop making others your priority and start making yourself the priority, the respect you always wanted starts coming to you effortlessly. People sense when a man values himself. They see it in how he moves, how he speaks, how he carries himself. They recognize a man who is not desperate for their validation, and that makes him magnetic. If you find yourself always putting someone else's happiness above your own, always adjusting your life to fit someone else's expectations, stop. Ask yourself, who is making the same effort for me? Who is sacrificing for my growth? Who is putting me first? Because the hard truth is this: if you keep treating yourself as second place, the world will believe you belong there, and no one is going to come and fix that for you. It's your responsibility to take control of your life, to focus on your own success, to build yourself into the kind of man who doesn't need to beg for respect, because he commands it simply by being who he is. Put yourself first, build yourself, and watch how the world starts treating you differently. A man who cannot control his emotions is a man who cannot control his life. Every decision, every action, every moment of his existence becomes dictated by how he feels in the moment. And that is dangerous, because emotions are temporary, but consequences are permanent. Weak men react. They let anger, fear, insecurity, and desperation make choices for them. They lash out when they feel disrespected. They chase after people who reject them. They break their own boundaries because they are afraid of being alone. And in doing so, they lose power. A strong man, on the other hand, does not move based on feelings. He moves based on principle. He understands that emotions are like waves. They rise and fall. But discipline, that stays. Self-retreat, that remains. A man who leads his life with discipline instead of emotion is a man who cannot be manipulated, cannot be shaken, cannot be broken. People will test you. They will push you to see if you break. They will try to trigger a reaction just to see if they have control over you. And the moment you respond emotionally, you prove them right. You show them that they can pull your strings like a puppet, that your actions are not your own. They belong to whatever emotion is strongest in the moment. But when you master yourself, when you pause before reacting, when you think before speaking, when you walk away instead of engaging in pointless drama, you send a different message. You show that no one owns you, that no one can make you act outside of your own values, that you are not a slave to your emotions, but a man of discipline and control. This is where true power lies. In stillness, in patience, in the ability to walk through life with an unshakable presence. A man who controls his emotions controls his decisions. And a man who controls his decisions controls his future. So the next time you feel anger rising, the next time you feel the urge to react, stop, breathe, step back, ask yourself, am I acting from a place of strength, or am I letting emotions take the lead? Because the choice you make in that moment will define you. It will either keep you weak or make you unstoppable. Weak men talk too much, they explain themselves. They beg to be understood. They try to convince people of their worth with words instead of actions. But a man who truly understands his value does not waste time proving himself. He lets his results speak. Talking too much is a sign of insecurity. It reveals a need for validation, a need to be heard, a need to be accepted. But the truth is, the more you explain yourself, the less powerful you become. People respect a man who speaks with purpose, not a man who spills every thought in his mind. A strong man understands that silence is a weapon. It makes people wonder. It forces them to pay attention when he finally does speak. When he sets a boundary, he doesn't argue. When he makes a decision, he doesn't seek approval. When he says he will do something, he does it without announcing it, without explaining, without asking for permission. And that is what separates leaders from followers. A man who acts instead of talks is a man who cannot be ignored. His discipline is seen in his presence. His power is felt in his silence, and his confidence is proven by his actions. But most men don't operate this way. They talk about their plans but never execute. They promise change but never follow through. They try to impress others with words, hoping that talk alone will gain them respect. But respect is never given to the loudest man in the room. It is given to the one who moves with quiet certainty, the one who does not chase attention but commands it effortlessly. So stop explaining yourself. Stop arguing over your worth. Stop feeling the need to be understood by everyone. Speak with purpose, move with intention, and let your results be the only proof you ever need. Because a man of action is a man of power, and power is never in words. It is in the ability to move in silence and let the world adjust. Most men struggle because they don't know when to walk away. They hold on too long, they tolerate too much, and they keep giving chances to people who don't deserve them. They believe that if they try a little harder, wait a little longer, or prove their worth just one more time, things will change. But they won't. A man who cannot walk away is a man who has no power. He is trapped, controlled by his own emotions, by his fear of loss, by the hope that someone will finally appreciate what he has to offer. But appreciation does not come from chasing. It does not come from begging. It does not come from proving yourself to someone who does not see your value. It comes from knowing when to leave. When someone disrespects you, walk away. When someone treats you as an option, walk away. When someone plays games with your time, your energy, your emotions, walk away. And do it without explaining yourself. Do it without seeking closure. Do it without waiting for an apology that will never come. Because real power is in detachment. The moment you show that you are willing to walk away and never look back, you shift the dynamic. People realize that they cannot play with you, that they cannot take you for granted, that they cannot treat you as disposable. And if they do, they lose you forever. Weak men stay where they are not valued. They keep reaching out. They keep justifying bad behavior. They keep hoping that if they just hold on a little longer, things will change. But strong men understand that respect is not something you beg for. It is something you demand by refusing to accept anything less. And the irony is, the moment you walk away with confidence, the very people who ignored you, who took you for granted, who treated you as replaceable, will suddenly start chasing you. Not because they love you, not because they respect you, but because they realize you are not controlled by them. You are not desperate for their approval. You are a man who values himself enough to leave. So never fear walking away. Never fear losing someone who does not see your worth. Because the ones who truly value you will never put you in a position where you have to choose between your self-respect and their presence. And the ones who don't, they were never meant to stay. Men who are always available are never valued. When you give unlimited access to your time, your energy, and your presence, people start taking you for granted. They assume you will always be there, waiting, ready to respond, ready to fix things, ready to adjust your life for their convenience. But that is not how power works. Power is in scarcity. Value is in exclusivity. The moment people realize they can't have you whenever they want, something changes. They start to see you differently. They start to respect your time. They start to realize that your presence is not a given. It's a privilege. Weak men make themselves too accessible. They answer every call. They reply to every message instantly. They drop everything the moment someone needs them, hoping that by always being available, they will be appreciated. But it does the opposite. It makes them look desperate. It makes them look like they have nothing more important going on in their lives. And people do not admire those who have no purpose beyond serving others. Strong men move differently. They are selective with their time. They do not respond to everything. They do not explain why they are busy. They do not rush to be at someone's disposal. They focus on themselves, their goals, their mission, and in doing so, they become more respected, more desired, and more powerful. When you make yourself less available, people start to wonder about you. They start to question what you are doing, who you are with, what is keeping you so occupied. And that curiosity makes them value you more. It makes them put in more effort. It forces them to work for your time instead of expecting it for free. So stop being the man who is always reachable, always waiting, always adjusting his life for others. Start being the man who is focused, who is busy, who is living a life so full that others have to earn their place in it. Because the more you value your time, the more others will too. The biggest mistake a man can make is giving his time, energy, and loyalty to people who wouldn't do the same for him. Too many men waste years chasing, proving, and sacrificing for people who only see them as an option. They ignore the signs. They make excuses. They keep giving, even when it's clear that they are not being valued in return. But a man who understands his worth does not beg for attention. He does not force connections. He does not keep showing up for people who don't show up for him. He recognizes when he is being used, when he is being tolerated instead of appreciated, and he walks away without hesitation. Respect is a two-way street. If you constantly prioritize someone who barely considers you, you are teaching them that your time is cheap, that they don't need to make an effort, that you will always be there no matter how little they invest in you. And that is how you lose your power. You must be willing to step back, to observe who actually makes an effort when you stop chasing, to see who checks in, who reaches out, who values your presence when you are no longer constantly available. Because the truth is, people show you their priorities not through words, but through actions. If someone never initiates, if someone never makes time, if someone only comes to you when they need something, that is all you need to know. Strong men are not afraid to lose people. They understand that real connections do not require begging, forcing, or over-explaining. If someone wants to be in your life, they will make the effort. They will match your energy. They will prioritize you the way you prioritize them. And if they don't, then they have no place in your life. It is not your job to convince anyone to respect you. It is not your responsibility to make someone see your worth. That is something they either recognize or they don't. And if they don't, you let them go. Because the longer you hold on to people who do not value you, the more you delay meeting those who actually will. A man without standards is a man who will accept anything. And when you accept anything, you get treated like nothing. Too many men let people walk all over them because they are afraid of being alone. They tolerate disrespect. They ignore red flags. They lower their expectations just to keep someone around, but in doing so, they lose the one thing that matters most: self-respect. If you do not set standards for how you will be treated, the world will set them for you, and the world has no interest in making sure you are valued, respected, or appreciated. That is your job, that is your responsibility, and it starts with making a decision, deciding that you will no longer accept the bare minimum, that you will no longer tolerate behavior that drains you, disrespects you, or makes you question your worth. Weak men beg for better treatment. Strong men enforce it. If someone disrespects you once, correct them. If they do it again, remove them. No second chances, no long explanations, no emotional debates, because when you allow disrespect once, you are telling people it is acceptable. And the moment people realize there are no consequences for their actions, they will keep pushing your boundaries. Having standards does not mean being arrogant. It does not mean being unreasonable. It means knowing what you bring to the table and refusing to let anyone treat you as if you are disposable. It means recognizing when someone is not meeting your expectations and having the discipline to walk away. But here's the truth. When you set high standards, you will lose people. Not because you are doing something wrong, but because they were never meant to stay. People who are used to taking advantage of others will resist when you demand respect. They will call you difficult. They will say you are asking for too much. But understand this, the right people will never make you feel guilty for expecting the bare minimum. Respect, effort, honesty. A man with standards attracts quality. When you hold yourself to a higher level, you force others to either rise to meet you or leave your life. And either way you win. Because in the end, it is better to be alone with your self-respect than surrounded by people who do not value you. A man who constantly explains himself is a man who seeks approval. And when you seek approval, you give away your power. You don't owe anyone an explanation for your choices, your growth, or your standards. People will question you, they will challenge you, they will try to make you feel guilty for changing, for leveling up, for deciding that you will no longer accept what you once tolerated. But you don't need to justify anything. Too many men waste energy trying to make others understand their decisions. They try to explain why they walked away, why they cut certain people off, why they are choosing to focus on themselves. But here's the truth. People who respect you won't need an explanation, and people who don't respect you will never accept one. So why waste your time? Silence is power. When you stop explaining, you force people to sit with their own thoughts. You make them wonder. You create mystery, and mystery demands respect. Because when people don't know your next move, they can't manipulate you, they can't control you, and they can't use your words against you. Weak men announce their plans. They tell everyone what they're going to do. They seek validation before they take action. But strong men, they move in silence. They let their results speak. They let their success answer every doubt, every insult, every attempt to undermine them. They understand that not everyone deserves access to their thoughts, their struggles, or their victories. If you want respect, stop talking so much. Stop explaining your worth. Stop proving yourself to people who have already made up their minds about you. Instead, put that energy into your work, into your growth, into becoming so disciplined, so focused, so successful that your actions speak louder than any words ever could. You do not need permission to evolve. You do not need validation to choose yourself. And you do not need to explain why you are no longer the man you used to be. Those who truly value you will understand, and those who don't, they were never meant to be part of your journey anyway. A man who is easily triggered is a man who can be easily controlled. When you let emotions dictate your actions, you give others the power to manipulate you. People will test you. They will provoke you. They will try to get a reaction out of you, not because they want to understand you, but because they want to control you. And the moment you react, they win. Self-regret is the foundation of strength. It separates those who are in charge of their lives from those who are constantly at the mercy of their emotions. Because the world is full of distractions, full of people who will try to pull you into arguments, into drama, into unnecessary conflicts. But a man who masters his emotions masters his life. You don't need to respond to everything. You don't need to prove yourself in every situation. Some things do not deserve your energy. Some battles are not worth fighting. And sometimes silence is the strongest response you can give. Weak men explode over every little thing. They let insults, disrespect, and setbacks shake them, but strong men, they observe, they analyze, they take a step back and ask themselves, is this worth my time? Is this worth my peace? Most of the time it's not, because people who try to provoke you are usually looking for attention, and when you refuse to give it to them, you strip them of their power. But self-retreat is not just about how you react to others. It's about how you handle yourself, how you move through life, how you manage your thoughts, your discipline, your focus. It's about being in control of your decisions instead of being controlled by temporary emotions. Emotional discipline means not making decisions out of anger, not chasing after people who walk away, not wasting energy on things that don't serve you. It means knowing when to walk away, when to stay silent, and when to let your actions do the talking. When you control your emotions, you control your future. No one can shake you. No one can play games with your mind. You become unshakable, untouchable. And that is the kind of man the world respects. The kind of man who stands tall no matter what comes his way. Some people will only respect you when they lose access to you, when they realize they can no longer manipulate you, waste your time, or take advantage of your kindness. That's when they finally see your value, but by then it's too late, because the man you are becoming has no time to entertain what no longer serves him. Walking away is not weakness, it is not surrender, it is power. The power to choose yourself, the power to reclaim your life, the power to say, I will not stay where I am not respected. Too many men waste years waiting for someone to change, for someone to finally appreciate them, for someone to suddenly see their worth. But respect is not something you wait for, it's something you demand. And sometimes the only way to demand it is to leave. Some people will try to guilt trip you. They will say you're being harsh. They will tell you that you're overreacting. But understand this. Anyone who tries to make you feel guilty for choosing yourself was never for you in the first place. Real people, real relationships, real connections. They don't require you to beg, to prove, to constantly remind someone of your value. Walking away is not just about leaving toxic people behind. It's about leaving behind old versions of yourself that no longer align with your growth. The version of you that tolerated disrespect. The version of you that settled for less. The version of you that was afraid to be alone. That man is gone, and in his place stands someone who knows what he wants, who knows what he deserves, and who is not afraid to demand it. But walking away is only the first step. The real challenge, never looking back. Too many men walk away but leave the door open. They check in, they respond to texts, they keep the connection alive, just in case. But strength is in finality. You cannot step into your future while keeping one foot in the past. You cannot welcome better things into your life while holding on to what broke you. This is about discipline, about commitment to yourself, about understanding that your peace, your purpose, and your future are too valuable to be compromised by people who don't deserve a seat at your table. And when you finally walk away and never look back, something incredible happens. Your energy shifts. Your focus sharpens. Your confidence grows. You begin to attract the right people, the right opportunities, the right mindset. Because the moment you stop settling, the universe responds. It starts aligning you with the life you were meant to live. So make the decision today. No more explaining. No more second chances. No more waiting for someone to wake up and realize what they had. Walk away for your peace, for your future, for the man you are meant to be. And never look back. If this message resonated with you, if you know it's time to take control of your life, then do something about it. Hit that like button to remind yourself that you are choosing yourself today. Subscribe for more powerful messages that will push you to grow, to evolve, to become the best version of yourself. And share this with someone who needs to hear it, someone who is stuck, who is hesitating, who needs that final push to walk away from what no longer serves them. Your future is waiting. It's time to step into it.